Hey, what's happening guys? Welcome back to VBA tutorials. I'm Lee Jones, and today we're going to go and create this simple database entry form, and this will put all the data, what you put in the form, into, you guessed it, a database. So let's get started. So this is what the macro will look like, similarly. So let's start a new module, and we'll call this lesson 2 video, and we'll do a sub of lesson 2 video. Okay, now first of all we're going to clear all this data in here, don't need any of that. We'll get rid of the button, and I'll show you how to input a button a little bit later on. So first of all, we want to reference the worksheets, so we can store that as a value or a variable. So we'll start off with dim, and a little way I do it as whatever I name the worksheet, and try to use the first letter within the worksheet, and then I write sheet. So for example, input sheet, I'll write E. And we'll use what's called a camel case, so we'll go a little I, capital S, sheet. It's quite a popular way of writing a variable within the programming world. There is a few different other ways. Let me just, we want to store that as a worksheet. Other ways you can do it is I underscore sheet. You can kind of do any way you want. The only thing you can't do is use a number to start with. Doesn't like that. And that's pretty much the same for most of the programming language, and you can't use spaces either. It's got to be all as one word. You can use underscore, and I believe you can also start with an underscore. No, you can't on this one. You can with some other programming language, but you can't on this one. Many apologies there. Okay, so we've done dim iSheet as worksheet, and we want to store also the database sheet. So we'll do dim, D for database, capital S as and a sheet as worksheet. Now we need a little note to ourselves as to what these variables will be referencing to. So we've put in a little apostrophe, and we write input sheet. This will turn green. The reason this turns green, it just tells us that this is just a note. It won't play any reference in the macro whatsoever. We'll do the same for this one, so database. And again, we've got the green writing just to remind us that that's what it is. So now we need to actually tell the macro what sheet iSheet is going to be. So we'll put set iSheet. Don't worry about the capitalization at the moment. It will automatically pick that up. So set iSheet equals this workbook dot sheets, open brackets, open parentheses, and we'll put in input sheet and press enter. Now you can see everything is capitalized in the correct way. This is good for us because we know we've got the correct variable here, and we've got the correct language markup. You could write literally any sheet in there you want. You could put this sheet, providing you've got a worksheet with the tab name of the sheet. Okay, we now need to do the same for D sheet. You can cheat on this one if you've already got one set out. If you copy, paste, we'll change that to D sheet, and we want to change this. See if you can guess what we need to change it to. Yes, we need to change it to a database. So now we've actually stored them. How do we know if we've actually stored them correctly? So what we'll do first of all, we'll go into actually putting the button into this form. To that, if you go onto your developer tab, insert, and you come up with a load of form controls. We're just going to use the first one that's rather basic at the moment, and we're going to enter our button here, so left click, drag, and now we want this workbook. We've only got this workbook open anyway, and we'll have this video lesson 2 video, and okay, we'll click in there and we'll change the text to submit. So if we press the button, nothing will happen at the moment, because all this is doing at the moment is just storing the variables. It's not actually making the worksheet to do anything, or the workbook to do anything. So just as a quick test, we'll put dsheet database dot selects. We don't have to need this, but this just gives you a rough idea as to what the dsheet will do. So if you press submit now, it will actually select the database tab. Okay, so we'll go back to there. We'll delete that. Okay, so our first part of call is we need to test that we actually have data within the cells. So again, we'll write a little apostrophe and we'll do test to ensure we have data. And the first one we'll do is test name. Now what we're going to do is write an if statement, so if, and we're also going to use a new statement called IsEmpty. Yep, that's correct. Open brackets, and the expression is it's a boolean. Boolean is basically true or false, so we want to know if it's empty, it will come back as true. If it's not empty, it will come back as false. So if it's true, we want to do something, and to do that we will go in input sheet, so that's isheet dot range, open a bracket, open parentheses, and the range is going to be C4, close the bracket, close the parentheses, close the bracket, and then we want to say then. So if it's not true, then if isheet, oh, bracket, sorry, missed the bracket off. So what are we going to do? Well, first of all, a good habit to get is to put your end if statement in. That will then say to the macro, let's end it there, we don't want to do any more checks. So if there is no data, we're going to put in a message box. Now we're not going to go too much into message boxes at the moment. We will be doing some tutorials further on down the line on message boxes, because you've got input box, message box, you've got yes, no, retry, cancel. There's a whole load of stuff you can go into, so we'll do probably a video just on message boxes itself a little bit later on. So we will put in please enter your name, close parentheses, and we'll do a comma, and this will now it will give us a few different things we can do. We can just do it as an information, we can do it as a critical box, we can do it as a OK cancel, OK only, we can do it as a question, retry, cancel. We're just going to stick to a VB information at the moment. It's just giving us a little information, we've done something wrong. So information, comma again. Now this last section, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but if you have an error message pop up or some kind of message box pop up, at the top of the message box, say this is the message box, you would have some kind of data in there or a string in there. So we're going to put error, we'll put input error. And this will become apparent in just a second. We'll close the parentheses, and then we want to not exit the sub yet. What we want to do is put the user back into that cell. So isheet range C4 dot select, and then we want to exit the sub, because if it is we've not got data on there, we don't want to go any further. We want to tell the user, go back and put your data in correctly, then we'll carry on with the routine. So Let's try this. So we'll press submit. Here you have your input error. That's what we wrote on here. And please enter your name. This is what we wrote in this part of the message box. And this exclamation mark here, that's your information. Okay, it's gone back to selecting that cell. If I was to put in, if I was to just comment that out, we put the selection down here, press submit. Okay, that will stay down here. So it means the user is then going to actually click. I know it's highlighted, but it just makes the user feel that it's tailored to them. Okay, so let's just as a quick one, input error, dude. Submit, and there you've got input error, dude. Now let's just for as a bit of an insight, VB critical. This will show you we have that box of X. You could keep that on, to be fair. Yeah, we'll keep that on. So looks good. VB critical. We will go a bit further on down the line, obviously, like I say, with message boxes, and we'll be doing a little bit more work on them. So we've got that in place. So if we write a name, submit, yes, it's got past that because nothing else has happened. Next part then, what we're going to do is copy and paste this part, and we're going to test the age as the person wrote the correct age. So we want cell reference C6, we'll change that to age, and then we want the user to go back to cell C6. Submit, input error, please enter your age. Yeah, no data and age. So age 12. Okay, we'll put age. I'd like to be back into my teens again. Let's be 18 again. Happy days. And yes, that's gone through absolutely no problem at all. Now let's move swiftly on. It's kind of a repeat exercise, this part is. So now we're going to do address. Address is in C8. Change the age to address, and we want the user to go back to C8. So submit. We know we've got name, we know we've got age. Submit, please enter your address. Okay, so 1 blah. Wonderful. We do have one little problem within this form. If we put text, some gibberish, it will still register that there's something in the box. It doesn't know that it's not numerical. So what we need to do, we need a numerical test. So let's test if the data in the age box has numerical, Mary, we'll get there in a minute. No, numeric, or data, and a long date, that's all I can say, that's my excuse. Okay, so how do we do this? So we're going to do another if statement. So if, we're going to write if not is numeric, open brackets. Again, this is a boolean. So if it is not a numerical value, hence the term not, this will throw back a false boolean if memory serves me right. So we do isHit.range, and it is C4, no sorry, C6, let's get it right. And close the brackets again, and then what do we do? End if. Okay, so we can literally just copy this part here and just change a few bits. So please enter a valid number for your age. Then it'll take the user back to cell C6 and it'll exit the sub. Let's give that a try. So we know we've got name, we know we've got address, but we know we've got a string or a variable or a value, no variable. Let's submit. Please enter a valid number for your age. So again, if we just put 1, blah, 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 it's not just a numerical value. So let's test it now with 18. Submit. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. That's gone through. So our next stage, we need to store what is actually in them boxes. So store the cell values or strings. So we're going to go back up to the top. We're going to put dim name as a string. So a string you can hold let me just get this for you. A fixed string can hold 1 to 65,400 characters if memory serves me right. So this will store the name, and there we go. And if memory serves me right, it's also a variable string, can hold something like 0 to 2 billion characters. So I think we'll be right with name. I don't think we're going to have a very long name at all. Dim age. Now age is going to be a integer. Now an integer is a number. It's not a decimal number. It's just a singular number, and it can store. It's actually if anybody knows terms of data, it's basically require memory of 2 bytes, and it can store anything from minus 32,768 and I think through to 32,767. So correct me if I'm wrong, but that's just going from memory. So store the age. We don't really need to write these here because I'm using a simplified variable just to remind us what they are. So address, again, this is going to be a string, and we'll store, let's use capitals just as a preference, address. Okay, so now we need to actually put them into practice. So store name equals, now we're still on the input sheet, so isheet dot range, and that will be range C4. Age will be again isheet dot range, and that will be C6. And address again isheet dot range, and that will be C8. So to test these, we'll put a what we do, we'll press just adjacent to the line we want. It will come up with a little red dot, and it will highlight red. This is actually a break within the code, so whenever you run the code, it will always stop on this part. Let me give you an example. Press submit. Compile error. We've actually got a compile error as well. Oh, I got that wrong there. Naughty boy. Not my day. Okay, so it's broke there. As you can see, the name variable doesn't have any data in at the moment. Let's press F8 to go through step by step. So name now has Lee, age is empty, so is address. Age will be 0 because we've already declared this as a integer or a number. As you can see, it's a singular number. And press F8, age now has 18. Address, again, it's a string with the 2 apostrophes. And let's press F8. And now we have one blah. Wonderful. Things seem to be going our way at the moment. Let's hope this continues. Right, now we need to find the last row within the database so we can actually put these variables into it. So let's find the last row in the database. Now, if I give you an example, what this next part of the code will do, it will literally go all the way to the bottom of your worksheet. Now, if you press Control up, it'll go all the way back up to the very last line of data. Again there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, go all the way down and all the way back up. It'll come to the last line of data within the worksheet. So first of all, we need to declare a variable. So we're going to store the last row. So we'll mark it up as last row as lar, and we'll mark that as a long this time. So a long can do anything from minus, let me just think now, long, and let's just put an apostrophe here, is from minus 2 billion, what was it now, 2 billion, sorry, 147 million, 483,648, if memory serves me right, and that goes all the way through back to 2,147,483,648. So using a long variable, we could actually go down right to the very bottom of the worksheet if we need to, which will go up to 101,048,576. So using a long, we know we've got more than enough. So we now need to go on to a last row equals. So now we need to actually reference the database worksheet, and as you can remember further up, we had dsheet, which equals the database. So dsheet dot, we'll use cells. Cells is a way of referencing a cell. If you do row 1, so the first value of row, I can see row index and column index. So if we do row 1 and column 1, that will be A1. If you do row 2, column 1, that will be A2. If we do row 2, column 2, that will be B2. Okay, so we know we're going to reference to column 1, which is A, but what we're going to do is actually count the rows. So we do rows dot count, comma, and we're going to count the rows in column 1. And we do end xl up dot row. We'll leave it at that at the moment. We do need to add something else, but just for example purposes, I'm going to leave it at that. And enter. So let's put a line break on there, and let's run the code. Okay, so last row is currently a 0. F8, last row is now giving us a value of 2. Okay, now there's a little bit of a problem with that. If we go with a value of 2, we are going to basically overwrite the data. So we're going to put +1. Let's go back and press F8, and now we've got the last row as 3. So now we know when we're using this as a reference, we will be going back to the actual last row with no data. Now there's a multitude of doing finding the last row. Some people probably frown on how I do it. I know it is a common way of doing it. We will go a bit further on down the line on different ways people reference to the last row, but for now this is a common way I use, and we'll just use this. Okay, so what we need now is a reference for the ID tag, because at the moment we don't know how we're going to put the ID in. So ID as, and we're going to use a long, and again if you remember this will go anywhere up to 2 billion. So store the ID number and also the ID number. So let's just think how it's going to do this part. Where's my Visual Basic on? There we go. Right, so what we're going to do is get the ID tag. So if last row equals 2, So if the last row equals 2, we know that is the last row. Then, what are we going to do? We've already wrote thenly. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to make the ID tag equals 2. No, we'll make it as 1. Let me just think. Yep, we'll make it as 1. This will become apparent in a minute. And then we're going to do else. So we've done if and we've done end if. We're now adding else. So if equals 2, we're going to put ID to else. So if it's not equal to 2, we're going to add ID is equal to D sheet, so database sheet dot cells last row. So we know the last row is row 3, and we need to do minus 1. We're going to go minus 1 because we need to go back 1 to get the actual value of this one in here, and column 1 dot value, and we actually need to increment that value. Let's just take that off a minute so I can actually demonstrate how this works. So end if. Let's run this part of code. So we know the last row is 3. We know it's not equal to 2. So we're going to go else ID now will equal 1. But we don't want to just keep having every single one as a 1. So if we put a plus 1 there, it will now get that value and it will make it into 2. Okay, so just for example, we'll take that off there. We'll try it again. Let's run the code. And now we know the last row is equal to 2. So we have no data in there. So we're going to make ID is equal to 1. And it will go straight to the end if statement. Okay guys, we seem to be cracking on really well here. Not long to go. We'll now just start putting the data into the worksheet. So into the worksheet, well no, into the database. Right, this is pretty straightforward now. So we're going to go dsheet.cells. Now we want the last row data, don't we? So we'll go row index of last row, which will be whatever this stores. And we go column 1 will be equal to ID. If we run that bit of code, and we have ID. Let's run it again. This should then go to 2. Run it again. 3, 4, 5. Okay, so you can kind of see where this is going. So let's do this again. We need another 3 times. 1, 2, 3. I will change this one to name. This one to age. And again to address. And now we've got the last row number. We know that. These don't need to be changed, but we need to change the column. So the name is in column B, which is column 2. Age is in column C, which is column 3. And the address is in column D, which is column 4. And if we run that, hey, success. Let's run it again. There we go, and it will automatically always go over. Now the reason I've done the tag like this, if you were to delete some data, so let's control minus there, can delete a row, it will still automatically increase that ID tag by 1. So we know that there's some data missing somewhere along the lines. Now what we need is to clear this data in here on the form. So let's go back to iSheet, input sheet, dot range C4 dot clear contents. This will clear the contents within C4, and we do again. What we'll do is copy and paste, and we'll do C6 and C8. Right, I'll show you this way first, and there is a little bit of a simplified version of doing this, but let's just run that. Okay, that's cleared all the data, and let's first of all put all the data in here. So let's delete them last two rows, put a column, and put a column, comma, then put C6, comma, C8. Now this will do exactly the same. Lee, who's now going to 19, and his address is to blah. Submit, and again it's done exactly the same, and your data is within the worksheet in the database. The next thing we need to do, we need to put the user back onto the first cell. Range, so iSheet, input sheets dot range C4 dot select. So we'll give that a try. So Joe Blogs, who is 21, he lives at 1 Sugar Row, and there we go, we have success, ladies and gentlemen. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's pretty much just a basic form. There is a multitude of ways of doing this. You can use a user form, which will be going on further on down the line. We will aim to add some formulas within there, but for now this is just a basic interpretation of a worksheet integrating with a macro. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learned some things. If you have any questions and you'd like to learn something else within VBA or Excel itself with formulas, please drop a comment in the comments below. I will be all too happy to either answer your question, and if possible I will do a video tutorial on it. So please like and subscribe, that way you'll get more videos as they come. Thank you very much people, and I hope to see you soon. Take care. Ciao for now.